I'm 72 years old now, and I finally retired last month. Everyone congratulated me, told me I deserved it, that I'd worked hard enough for 3 lifetimes. But as I sat in my empty house on that first Monday morning, without anywhere to go, without anyone expecting me, I felt something I hadn't anticipated. It wasn't relief or joy or the freedom everyone promised retirement would bring. It was regret. Deep, heavy regret for all the years I spent getting here, for all the things I told myself I'd do later, for all the moments I let slip through my fingers while I was busy chasing something that, in the end, didn't matter nearly as much as I thought it would. I'm not telling you this story to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you because I wish someone had sat me down when I was younger and made me understand what I'm about to share with you now. These are 5 hard realities I learned too late. And if even one person hears this and makes a different choice, then maybe my mistakes will have served some purpose. The first reality I learned too late is that time doesn't wait for you to be ready. When I was 30 years old, my daughter asked me to come to her school play. She was playing a tree in the background, barely had any lines, and I remember thinking it wasn't that important. I had a big presentation at work the next day, a presentation that could lead to a promotion I'd been chasing for months. I told her I'd make it to the next one, promised her we'd do something special that weekend instead. She said she understood, gave me a little smile that I now realize was her trying to hide her disappointment. I got that promotion. I remember feeling like I'd made the right choice, like I was building something important for our family's future. But you know what? I don't remember a single detail from that presentation. I couldn't tell you what I said or who was in the room or what the project was even about. But I remember my daughter's face when I came home that night and she tried to tell me about the play I'd missed. I remember the way her excitement dimmed when she realized I'd chosen work over her again. And here's the cruel part, the part that keeps me up at night even now, decades later. There was no next play. She never asked me to come to another school event after that. She learned that Daddy's work was more important, and she stopped expecting me to show up. I told myself for years that I was doing it for her, for the family, that the long hours and missed moments were investments in our future. But what future was I building? A future where my daughter barely knew me. A future where I missed watching her grow up. I have money now, a comfortable retirement, a nice house. But I'd give every dollar, every possession, every achievement for just one more chance to sit in that uncomfortable auditorium chair and watch my little girl play a tree. The second reality I learned too late is that your health won't warn you before it's gone. I spent 45 years telling myself I'd start exercising tomorrow, that I'd eat better next week, that I'd finally go to the doctor for that checkup next month. Tomorrow became next week became next month became next year. And before I knew it, decades had passed and my body had been keeping score the entire time. I remember my doctor's face when I finally went in for that checkup 3 years ago now. I was 69 years old and hadn't had a physical exam in over 15 years. He ran some tests, looked at the results, and then looked at me with this expression I'll never forget. It was a mixture of concern and something else, something that looked almost like frustration. He told me I had diabetes, high blood pressure, early signs of heart disease, and my cholesterol levels were dangerously high. all conditions that could have been prevented, or at least managed much better, if I'd been paying attention years earlier. I sat there in his office, listening to him list off medications I'd need to take for the rest of my life. Lifestyle changes I should have made decades ago, and I felt like such a fool. I'd spent all those years thinking I was invincible, that my body would just keep working no matter how poorly I treated it. I skipped meals or ate fast food because I was too busy to cook. I sat at a desk for 10 hours a day and convinced myself that was just what success looked like. I ignored the warning signs, the tiredness, the aches, the weight gain, because acknowledging them would mean admitting I wasn't taking care of myself, and I didn't have time for that admission. Now, I take 8 different pills every morning. I can't eat most of the foods I used to love. I get winded going up a single flight of stairs. My grandchildren want me to play with them in the backyard, and I have to sit and watch because my body can't keep up anymore. And the worst part? This didn't have to happen. If I'd spent just 30 minutes a day taking care of myself, if I'd made my health even a fraction of the priority I made my career, I'd be a different person right now. I'd have the energy to actually enjoy this retirement I worked so hard for. Instead, I'm spending my golden years managing chronic conditions and wondering what life would be like if I made different choices when I still had time. The third reality I learned too late is that money can't buy back the moments that matter. I was so obsessed with financial security, with building wealth, with making sure we'd be comfortable in retirement. And I did it. I saved aggressively, invested wisely, climbed the corporate ladder, made more money than I ever thought possible when I was young. But here's what nobody tells you about achieving financial success at the cost of everything else. The money doesn't fill the emptiness. My wife passed away 4 years ago. We'd been married for 43 years, and I thought we'd have so much time in retirement to finally do all the things we'd talked about. We were going to travel, take that trip to Italy she'd always dreamed about, spend lazy mornings having coffee and reading the paper together, make up for all the time I'd spent at the office. But cancer doesn't care about your retirement plans. She got sick 2 years before I retired, and suddenly all that later I'd been counting on was gone. I had the money for the best treatments, the best doctors, the best care. But I couldn't buy more time. I couldn't buy back the anniversaries I'd worked through, the weekends I'd spent at the office, the evenings I'd come home too tired to really talk. I remember sitting by her hospital bed, holding her hand, and she looked at me with these tired eyes and said something that broke me. She said she wished we'd been poor. She said, if we'd had less money, maybe I would have been home more. Maybe we would have prioritized differently. Maybe we would have actually lived our lives instead of constantly preparing for some future that never came. She wasn't angry when she said it, just sad, and somehow that made it so much worse. I wanted to argue with her, to defend all those choices I'd made, but I couldn't, because she was right. I have enough money now to live comfortably for the rest of my life. I could take that trip to Italy 10 times over, but I'll never take it, because the only person I wanted to go with is gone, and going without her would just be a reminder of everything I lost while I was busy accumulating wealth I don't even need. The fourth reality I learned too late is that your children don't stay young waiting for you to be ready to be present. I mentioned my daughter earlier, but what I didn't tell you is that we barely speak now. Maybe once a month she'll call. We'll have an awkward conversation for 15 minutes, and then we'll say goodbye and go back to our separate lives. It's polite, cordial even, but there's no real connection there. And that's my fault. I missed her childhood because I was building a career, missed her teenage years because I was climbing the corporate ladder, missed her young adult years because I was securing my financial future. And now she has her own life, her own family, and I'm essentially a stranger who happens to be related to her. She has 2 kids, my grandchildren, who I barely know. They call me Grandpa, but there's no warmth in it, no real relationship. They don't ask to come visit me. They don't call me to tell me about their day. I'm just this old man who shows up occasionally with expensive presents, trying to buy affection I should have earned through presence and time. My son is a little better, but not by much. He's successful, married, living across the country. We text sometimes, share articles we think the other might find interesting, but we don't really talk about anything that matters. I don't know his fears or his dreams or what keeps him up at night. He doesn't ask me for advice or share his struggles. We're friendly acquaintances, bound by biology, but not much else. And every time I see parents with their young children, I feel this ache in my chest. I want to stop them, shake them, make them understand what I couldn't see until it was too late. Those little moments, the bedtime stories, the scraped knees, the school projects, the teenage drama, those aren't interruptions to your real life. Those are your real life. The career, the money, the success, those are supposed to support your life, not replace it. But I got it backwards, and now I'm old and alone with all the success I thought mattered and none of the relationships that actually do. The fifth and final reality I learned too late is that tomorrow isn't guaranteed, and someday never comes. I spent my entire adult life living in the future. I'll spend time with my family when this project is done. I'll take that vacation when I get the next promotion. I'll slow down when I've saved enough money. I'll pursue my hobbies when I retire. I'll reconnect with old friends someday. I'll write that book eventually. I'll learn to play guitar when I have more time. Everything was always later, always tomorrow, always someday. And then one day you wake up and you're 72 years old and all those some days have passed you by and you never did any of it. I have a list I made when I was 40 years old. Things I wanted to do before I died. Travel to Japan, learn woodworking, take a cooking class, go on a fishing trip with my old college buddies, teach my grandchildren something valuable, write letters to the people who shaped my life, and tell them what they meant to me. I found that list last week, buried in a drawer, and I read through it and realized I haven't done a single thing on it. Not one. 32 years I've had this list, and I always told myself I'd get to it eventually. Well, eventually is now, and it's too late. My college buddies are scattered, some have passed away. I don't have the relationship with my grandchildren to teach them anything meaningful. My body can't handle the physical demands of woodworking. The trip to Japan feels overwhelming and lonely to take by myself. Everything I postponed, everything I pushed to someday, is now either impossible or hollow. And the truly devastating part is that I had the time. If I'd just spent one weekend a month on the things that actually mattered, if I'd taken 2 weeks a year for real vacation instead of constantly checking work emails, if I'd prioritized life over work even just a little bit, I could have done everything on that list and still had a successful career, but I convinced myself that work was the priority, that everything else could wait. And now waiting is all I have left. I'm telling you all of this not because I want pity or sympathy. I made my choices, and I have to live with them. But if you're listening to this, and you're younger than I am, if you still have time to make different choices, please hear what I'm saying. Your career will not hold your hand when you're dying. Your bank account will not comfort you when you're alone. Your achievements will not keep you warm at night. The people you love, the moments you share, the experiences you have, the relationships you build, that's what matters. That's all that matters. Don't wait until you're 72 and retired to figure that out. Don't spend your life preparing for a future that might never come at the cost of a present that's slipping away right now. Be there for your kids while they still want you there. Take care of your body while you still can. Spend time with the people you love while they're still here. Do the things that matter to you while you're still capable, because I promise you, absolutely promise you, that one day you'll be sitting where I'm sitting, looking back on your life, and the only thing that will matter is how you spent your time and who you spent it with. Everything else, all the stuff I thought was so important, it's just noise. Don't make my mistakes. Don't learn these realities too late. Live your life now, not someday. Because someday never comes, and when it's too late, it's really, truly too late.